comments then.
Yeah, that's us.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the end of season Seagulls Dance, a live show as always to mark the end of yet another season and one of the tightest title races we have seen in some time, gentlemen. It's all come to an end, as have the other permutations. I'm Martin. I'm joined by David and Jack. David, how are you in this sweltering week?
I'm all right. I'm very fortunate that I've got a big old house that's cold in summer and warm in winter. So, but I've been enjoying my little trips to the garden with the dogs. But yeah, no, I've been enjoying it. Watched Palace last night. Bit of European glory for them. I think the European glory for English sides in the lesser competitions are things that we're going to have to get more used to over the years. But yeah, very, very much enjoying the summer and the break before the 907 matches of the World Cup, Martin.
Yeah. Jack, you must be fucking dying in this weather.
Yeah, mate, I was down at Loch Lomond and I bumped myself up. I don't know why I didn't decide to put on suntan lotion. I thought it's only 21 degrees at Scotland. It'll be fine.
Rookie error.
And it was not. It's not bumped myself in 25 years. So it's horrible. It really is. I knocked myself ill. I couldn't record my other show. But this isn't just going to be a rehash of last week's show. No, honestly, that we did put out. But
yeah. Look, we apologise. I'll take the rap for this one because we did it. We did record it. We did the full hour.
It was very good. Missed out.
I reckon one of the best shows we've ever done. We were all buzzing about how, and then I went to get the file, and 1 second was all that would play of it. So apologies, listeners. But if there's anything you want to know, you've got the thread on Patreon. Just go there and stick in the comments and we will happily deal with any comments, questions that you have. I'll keep an eye on that, Martin.
Good man, because I can't see it either way. Right, gents. Let's us at least deal with what happened last week. Again, this time live. Arsenal champions, of course, and they did it with a game to spare. What was all the stress about, Jack, when you were demanding Arteta to be sacked a few weeks ago? This was all falling apart. Now, the Burnley game was not straightforward. It was tense as all hell. I think everyone appreciated that might well be the case, but job done in the end. If Arsenal fans were getting a wee bit nervy with those 7 minutes of injury time, if it got to 5 or 6, just run around the park if you've just had enough. That should get the game stopped and the result as is. City had to go to Bournemouth. It just is not an easy fixture this season, especially the second half of the year, Jack. At times I thought they could get blown away. Bournemouth seemed to be the only team who felt belief in what they were playing for, i.e. place in Europe, potential Champions League. And City kind of looked like the race was run. And that's how it turned out.
Yeah, so firstly, on the end of the season, which was last week when Arsenal won the league, the way it went with Arsenal winning 1-0 with a set-piece goal was quite fitting. And Man City doing what they've done the whole season, Martin, you've always pushed on this button that you just don't trust them. And Bournemouth did have something to pray for. We'll maybe come on to the Villa City game and how that impacts Bournemouth and their chances and ability to get into the Champions League and Guard of Honours, etc. But yeah, Arsenal did what they did. They've done all season. Mikel Arteta has not bowed to the outside noise, the outside pressure. You know, like they've not been a particularly entertaining football side the whole season. But entertainment is a byproduct of elite sport. You expect it, but it's not guaranteed. And certainly the teams that are going for sport and glory don't need to entertain you. And they've stuck by what they've done for the past couple of seasons. I think they've been on top of the league over the past 2 seasons for over 500 days. So they have been the steadiest, most solid team this year, and the league table doesn't lie. So massive credit to Arteta, massive credit to the players, they spent a lot of money, yes, but other teams round about them in elite football spend the same amount of money, if not more. So they didn't go out and just steamroller it and buy the title. It's been we've spoke about it multiple times, it's been a steady build, sticking to a plan long term, and it's came to fruition. So yeah, massive kudos to Arsenal, Mikel Arteta, the players, and their plan that they've stuck to for the last 5-6 years.
David, that's exactly it. I mean, I think I've been fairly consistent this season, maybe even last, that I would be happy to see Arsenal win a title. Don't have any skin in the EPL game at all, but I'd be happy to see them do it because it would be a victory for patience, really, and slow build. They are a huge club in the biggest, richest league in the world. Of course, they've spent a lot of money, but they have not bought the 3 or 4 key players in one swoop. It's been a key player this summer, key player the next summer, and it's been difficult. And Arteta was, I think, in those earlier years, very close to his Jotters. Arsenal not in a great place after Emery, really post-Wenger, really, isn't it? But they stuck with him, and they continued just to do it. And maybe it's how you look at the world. Maybe it's just the belief you get in a particular group or manager or athlete. But when you're second, the narrative is either shite bags, second in the hardest league in the world compared to one of the richest and best teams ever to play, or you're close. Keep at it, keep on track, and eventually it will come. And it did. They needed help. They needed City effectively to hold their hand over the line. But some of that's probably to be expected. That no one in that squad has really won anything of that level of magnitude. So as a group, they haven't done it, and you don't know how to do it until you've done it, kind of thing. It's one of those things in football, especially league titles.
Yeah, and I think you've got the pressure that we've spoken about so often on this show, and it built, and there's no guarantee you're going to do it. There's famously in NFL, Martin, you'll probably recall the Buffalo Bills, 4 successive Super Bowls. They didn't win any of them. So the idea that it's automatic, it can, which I don't think anyone believes, to be fair. I'm creating a straw man there. But I think that it does take a certain mental strength to say, we will take this step, as opposed to that fatalism that, well, it's never going to happen for us. And to be fair to Mikel Arteta, he retained that level of belief in his squad. He retained that level of belief in what he was doing. He changed. The Arsenal that came second the first time round were really exciting. And there was a lot of comparisons to Wenger's years, or latter years, rather. They were really exciting. They were playing great football, attacking football. They were a bit flakier than this current version. Then he maybe leaned a little too far into the physicality. And I think this year, clearly, what he's done is he's had a very, very good blend of it. I don't think it's quite the perfect blend, by the way, because I think there's room for this Arsenal side to improve. And that should be frightening to the rest of their opponents, because I think this Arsenal team can still improve. I think it can be a little bit more expansive. And I think it's got some positions, left wing in particular, that they can improve upon. I don't think they are the finished article, but I think that there's a hunger there. It's a youngish side, really. That's something that's been lost in this. There's not a lot of veterans in there. It's a youngish side, though, that has a lot of experience and has come through a lot of stuff together. I think you saw that. I think after the match at Crystal Palace, there was an interview with Saka and Declan Rice, who are both mid and early 20s, I think. And I was really taken by and impressed by the maturity shown about it. But then I realised these are boys that have played at high end of football now for a number of years. They've got, hundreds of appearances. They've both been doing, really terrifically well for Arsenal. So, yeah, I think it is a reward for patience. I think it's a reward for good planning. If I'm Manchester United, Martin, I am looking at the Arsenal model and saying, right, we've tried 10 years of just buying someone in the hope that it will come. Look at what they did. We started it last summer. Let's continue it. I think Arsenal might well be a model, because you just have to look at silly clubs like Chelsea, like previously Manchester United, dare we say Liverpool last summer, to see that a patient build, if you have that patience, then you will get your reward eventually. And they have. There have been periods, Jack's right, there have been a few periods where Arteta could have gone. But they stuck with it and they've got the reward. And actually, I'm not sure, Martin, they've got the reward yet. I think they're just beginning to get the reward.
Well, this is the question, isn't it, gents? Jack, I've been keen to know your thoughts on this. Again, potentially two roads down here. There's the Rangers road of 21, where you finally got over the line. It's very emotional. It's the first for the majority of the squad. They do not have a pile of medals onto which they can chuck this one as just another trinket. It's huge, and they can't go again. They just cannot go again. They've been sated. Their appetite is being satisfied. Or, and a lot of this might depend on what happens this coming weekend in Budapest, maybe. Or is it just to start, as David mentioned, because City will still be very strong. They've still got a fantastic squad, but how does Maresca follow that? Liverpool, there is a cloud hanging over that club, despite, again, their talent and recent success. Manchester United are not quite there yet. Chelsea, I'll tell the jokes. So, is this just a start?
It could be, and like for the reasons you mentioned there, maybe turmoil is a bit much for some of the teams round about them, but the change, the transitional periods, the transitions that other clubs are facing. Arsenal must be thinking, look, we've planned so well the last 5 years to get to where we are. If we can do the same again, get another key player, get that left winger, get that. I don't want to shit all over Gyökeres too much. He did score quite a lot of goals, but get that guy in that gets you 30 goals. I know Gyökeres got 20, under 20 in the Premier League, but like 24, 25 overall. That continuous progression, Arsenal must be thinking, right, okay, we've got a chance here. And the kind of interesting thing is, does Arteta change and try to adapt and maybe become more exciting, in inverted commas, or more front-footed in teams? So, hopeful, in inverted commas. Like, if Arsenal don't win the league next year, I don't care. Like, it doesn't impact me at all. But I'm hopeful that they can maybe think about sticking with their plan. You'd hope if they'd planned for the last 5 years, they might have planned for the next 5. So, yeah, I think that they're in a really good place, and with all the Poison Chalice, Man City, Arne Slot, we'll get to him later. I don't think he lasts a season. Then you've got
certainly question marks, right?
There's question marks everywhere.
What you don't have is something in the middle of Pep's reign where City have taken a year off. You've taken advantage of that, but they're going to be back, and they're going to be back with a vengeance, and it's going to be very, very difficult to do this again. David, just before we leave Arsenal and that achievement and the patience and everything else, you mentioned Manchester United. I'm not sure United... Well, it's going to be very interesting to see if United do learn lessons from this, because they suffer from something that we know all too well. We won't give... That club will not give managers that kind of time. Not even to be second. I mean, Arteta, a couple of fifths, I think, before breaking through into that.
Absolutely, yeah.
And a few other disappointments there. Also had to go the best part of 20 years before they said, no, it's just, we're just going to wait. We believe in what's happening here. We know it. We literally know it can't be done in one summer. There might be an end point. Obviously, they might have had one in mind. But I'm not sure United are the kind of club that can do that until they maybe go through their own gate, by which point they go, yeah, fine. As they did, to be fair, at the start of the 90s. What's another couple of years when you've been waiting a generation for one?
Yeah, and it could end up like that, like Liverpool more recently. That you have to do it. I just don't think there's any other way now, Martin. I really don't. Given the current financial landscape of football, yeah, sure, you can go and buy players, so can everybody else. And you can't buy 10 of them. That's the thing. At that level, you simply can't. You cannot do that in one summer. So what are your options? Your options are continual improvement, hopefully, through the transfer market. Hopefully, you know, bringing one or two young players through, particularly at United, a club who pride themselves on that. Having a settled system, a manager who knows what he's doing, and accepting that it is unlikely to happen quickly. Where United, I think, really are different to everyone else, and I think this has been noticeable. Big clubs have pundits in the punditocracy, right? Of course they do. Arsenal's were, to a man, Martin, to a point of being mocked, so supportive of Arsenal. And I think you saw that with the reaction to Ian Wright. I've seen Arsenal players' reaction to Martin Keown, for example. They were grateful for the support. They felt supported by people in the media. You can argue whether or not that stopped them being fair. That's a different argument. I've heard good arguments put forward about that. Keown in particular, I think Wright can be critical when they deserve it, while saying I am an Arsenal fan and I want them to win. But Paul Merson can do that as well. Keown doesn't. Keown is very one-eyed about it. It's his gimmick, though, so he gets hired to do that. United's pundits aren't like that at all. And they seem very keen to, I mean, they don't seem particularly taken with Michael Carrick, whether or not there are issues there that obviously we mortals don't know about.
Mark Hughes' host, that's the issue.
Yeah, they are lining up. You can sense it, that they are ready to go on him when he starts. I think if you're United, what you have to do is, first of all, try to be sensible. Secondly, accept the reality. And thirdly, point to Arsenal. If you really believe Michael Carrick's your guy, and he does continue to improve at the rate that he has improved United next year, totally different challenge, as we've seen. As we've said, they'll have Europe. They'll have a lot more going on. He'll need to be just more than not Ruben Amorim next year. But if he continues to improve them and develop them as a side, if they don't win the league at first, well, fair enough, because there's good sides that are way down the line from them at the moment and they'll need to catch them up. But you stick with it. And I think you can point to Arsenal and say, guys, this is what we are trying to emulate. We're quite open and honest about this year. We don't think we can go from A to Z really just overnight. We think that there is a process that we need to follow and we're going to follow it. And we understand that that's going to frustrate you, but that's the truth. But it's easy to do that when there are 47 podcasts featuring ex-players, when there are clips all over social media, when there are articles, when Sky TV are slaughtering you. Do you jump then? So it is a different, even just those two clubs, there's a lot of similarities. Obviously, they're trying to attain the same thing, obviously, but there are differences. And for United, I think that last summer, I hope, has taught them something. They had a problem area in their team. They had several, but they realised they couldn't fix all of them at once. They fixed one. And it's fixed now. And now they can look at the other areas. They need midfielders. They can probably get by with what they've got defensively for another season. So get in the midfielders just now. Then, the next step. So I just, as I say, I think it's great because it has shown that, one, you can do it without being owned by a state. And two, the methodology of it, I think Arsenal have shown everybody of how you do it. And that doesn't mean, by the way, if you hire a manager and you say, we'll give him 5 years regardless, it's going to work. I don't mean that. You still have to do a lot of the right things. You still have to get your recruitment right. You still have to show that development. But anyone who is labouring under the misapprehension that you can go out and sign X amount of players in a window and everything will be fine after that, it doesn't happen. Liverpool did it from a position seemingly of great strength last year. They've gone backwards at an alarming rate of knots. You have got to do it incrementally because otherwise you're doomed to the Man United loop.
Do you? Sorry to quickly jump in, Martin. I do apologise. Do you think that with the ownership at Arsenal, the Cronkies, their whole kind of thing isn't really about winning stuff? Like, it's about getting to the Champions League, turning over that vast amount of money. It's not about winning, whereas maybe some of the other owners and chairmen would rather success quickly
they're looking for the trinket. Yeah, they're impatient. There might be something. I mean, made a comment on the early days of Twitter away back when Arsenal were playing for the Champions League place trophy, the top 4 cup and all of that. I said, well, maybe they're just the modern football club. Maybe they're just... No, it's about brand awareness. It's about being at the absolute top table. It's sport. Not everyone can win. That's mental. You will drive yourself insane. You'll drive yourself bankrupt. It'll be absolute turmoil year after year of just absolute chaos. You just need to be in and around. Now, it's a very American thing, by the way, David, you'll know more than most. It's very much an NFL thing. Just be in the mix. Because only one team can win.
Only one team can win, and
it's just you don't absolutely slit your wrists and throw the baby out with the bathwater because you narrowly missed out in the playoffs or whatever else. So maybe there's an American thing there, Jack. I don't know. I'm thinking more from a fan point of view, and obviously I'm thinking closer to home. That maybe there is X amount of years with fuck all before fans go, you know what, right, okay, give them 3 more. Or whatever it has to be. We can't look for the big summer ahead for Manchester United, the big summer ahead for Rangers, and we need 8 new players in because it's very, very hard to get right. Let's just do this stepwise. Fans don't want to hear that, though. And that's where stewardship comes in. And again, why I'm, without any skin in the game, quite happy to see Arsenal win that title because they've just backed their manager continuously. What happens next is of interest. David, are there any comments out there in the interweb for us to deal with? Please get involved either on Patreon or YouTube.
Yes, if you click the YouTube, I can put your comment up on the show, but if you add it on the Patreon, I can read it out, which I'm about to do. A nice one for you, Jack, from Richard McClucky, who says he's just jealous of your beard. So
thanks, Richard. It's taken a while. I've actually only recently started going to a regular barber guy. I used to just go to any shop and just give me a 00 and a 3 all over, but I've started going to the same guy recently.
I hope the listeners appreciate I shaved my head specifically for tonight's show. Martin will tell you I did a show earlier today where I had a small coating, obviously, of hair, and so we've all spruced up for you. I mean, Martin's wearing a nice t-shirt there. Jack's beard is immaculate. I've balded myself even further. We're working on your behalf here, listeners. Ian Henderson, Martin, to your question, he says, I think the Arsenal owner will invest to get another 1 or maybe 2 ultra high-end players and they will kick on. I keep hearing Rodrigo from Real Madrid for Arsenal for that left wing position. You know how every attacker that they sign is a left winger. And comment here from Mark Patterson. He says, where do Arsenal add as a left winger key to replace Trossard, Martinelli? I think you keep Trossard. Don't know about you boys, but I would get rid of Martinelli.
For sure. Because not everyone has to be the absolute reliable starter. You need impact from the bench. Trossard, bless him. And kind of what I say, feel for footballers, feel for millionaires, sports stars, beloved the world over. But people that get tagged with the super sub thing, way back to David Fairclough and all that. But it's a part of the game. Some players are just very good at immediately getting up to speed with the action, and away we go. I would say that left forward can be improved on. Some might argue that right forward can be improved on, and we'll see if Saka can just continue his upturning form into the World Cup and into next season. He's been injured,
and he's a star, but he's there's more to him, I think, than that. But I do agree that I think that they could definitely improve left flank. Chris Morrison says Arsenal are a real proper goal scorer away from the next few leagues, I think, which is a long-term thing that they've said. But here's a question for you boys. What Arsenal do we see next year? The pressure cooker not as intense. Does that free up Eze a bit more? And they're linked with Morgan Rogers. On paper, a very exciting thing, but do Rodgers no, I'll just say it right outright. For me, I don't think you can fit Rodgers, Eze and Odegaard in the same team.
No, and we might touch on England later as a kind of coda, but Thomas Tuchel very much taking that approach that why would I take 5 number 10s just to play 2 out of position? This is what international teams do all the time. It can't just be he's brilliant, he is, but is he?
I love Rodgers.
We'll come on to that the very end, I think. But it's not what Arsenal need. I do think that left-hand side, yeah, absolutely. And
Rodrigo would be good.
Rodrigo, well,
Rodrigo would be brilliant for them.
Arsenal need to also, we forget about the boring side of football, the financial balance. They've got a massive squad. They've probably got the best squad as it is, but there's players that can go like Martinelli, not Odegaard, Norgard, Merino, probably. Like, guys like that need to get shifted on to get in this one high quality player, because you still need to stay within the financial rules and stuff like that.
Yeah, but they're gonna make a shitload of money commercially, Jack, off
of
a title.
No, I get that, but there's still there's still squad balancing. There can be too many players in your squad.
They might Chelsea.
They might want to reduce it.
I think
by 3 or 4, so you've got more of a core of the 18, 19.
Yeah, but I think you keep Merino and Trossard in that.
Well, Marino's been so
useful.
Like, so, as a striker, he stood in.
Yeah. And I think that you keep those guys. You maybe do have a decision in a couple of years about Asaka. Do you, if you're bringing in another striker, as the listener suggested there, Kai Havertz and Gyökeres are too good to be number twos behind that. So what you then would have to do is you need to sell them, get your Harry Kane type, ironically, for a North London club. And then you have maybe younger guys in behind it there. So it's a difficult thing as well. But these are lovely questions for them. But I think, Jack, for the Champions League run, that'll boost the coffers. They will, as I say, be on a sponsorship explosion now for having won the title, big London club. I think they'll be all right. And I don't see them doing what Liverpool did. I think Liverpool swung their dick a bit last year. And don't get me wrong, at the time I was bloody impressed by it. I think we all were. But looking back, it wasn't the right thing to do. And I think Arsenal, put it like this, it would be a complete jump for the modus operandi if they now go nuts, because they just have shown no signs of it.
Yeah. Go back to the original point, I think. I think you will see some of those players free up. The Ezzies, who has been good in patches, but I think a lot of those players, understandably, were just absolutely tight. And I think with that off the back, I think they might be able to find that better balance between the complete solidity that defence allows, and also a bit more fluency and a bit more adventure. And Chris's point, I think Morgan Rogers is a better player than Martin Odegaard, but he's the captain, and don't diminish or underrate the influence that he has just in general in the squad. I don't think it's where they need to go personally. The predictor, I'm going to bleed in to the show, the top 60 you're getting through the show.
Are you going to wave it through like you apparently can do with money through accounts?
Well, I wouldn't know. Grant McLean, Craig Cassells and Duncan Lyon, by the way, the best on the final weekend, or final day, in fact, with 8 points. The top 60 then, in 20s and maybe 2 10s at the end. Stuart Whiteman and Jack Mayer and Ian Rutherford had 98 points. Chris White, Darren Buchan had 100. Scott Cameron, Mark Patterson, heard from him tonight, on 102. Douglas Ennis with 103. Craig Mitchell, Colin Carstairs, and Willie Chapman and Chris Manson 105. Callum Gordon and Ross, the Brazilian, I presume, just with the single name there, and LD on 107. Jack Skinner, you in third. Gordon McCool, 108. Callum Robertson and Ross Gordon on 109. So that takes us up to number 40, which we will get to later on. Gentlemen, on Sunday, tears aplenty at the Etihad Stadium, where Manchester City incredibly lost to a hungover, still pushed Aston Villa, and it was bye-bye to Pep and to John Stones and to Silva. A little overdone for me. What thinketh you, David?
Yeah, I thought it was a bit much. The two Guard of Honours being formed, I thought was a bit much, to be honest. And while, I think an opposition team doing it for a player, it should be a player who is maybe absolute zeitgeist, in the firmament, rather than just a great servant to a club. I love Silva. I've loved Stone since he came through at Everton. He's a wonderful player when he's fit. But yeah, I thought it was a bit much. But that's the way the world's going, in it. It was a nice Instagram moment for both clubs. Looking back, I think the Villa players maybe just did it because it gave them a break, and they were, as you say, Martin, they were suffering.
Stella, yeah.
And they were, and I loved it. Ollie Watkins posting on Instagram, "How have we done that then?" And all the players were coming on and saying, "I've no idea," because they'd been celebrating. And if you haven't seen the video of Unai Emery at their celebration in a Villa top, pished out of his nut. It's absolutely brilliant, and I urge you will have a smile on your face at the end of it. But yeah, look, it is the end of an era there. I mean, Pep has been such an enormous presence in the English game. He's redefined the English game. He's changed, well, not the English game, the world game. He's changed football. He legitimately has changed football. Not many can say it. He can. And these are some great lieutenants of his. Silva's been a fantastic Manchester City player, won so much with them and been such an integral part of it. There are a lot of young, exciting players there, though, Martin. He has not done a Ferguson. He has not left them with a squad that is in need of a radical overhaul to be successful. He has left them, I think, in as good a spot as a manager can pretty much do, other than maybe, well, Ferguson did leave a title, but I would still argue that whoever comes into Maresca is coming into a better squad. So yeah, I think it does actually give a new manager a bit of a chance that a lot of the senior lads in the dressing room move on as well. That's balanced by you're losing a lot of experience. You're losing a lot of medals that are going out of that dressing room, but you still have plenty of big characters in there that should be able to help you over the next few years. They've got the manager that they'd long wanted. I mean, October, when Maresca was having his fallout with Chelsea, it was partially because he told them he was having preliminary talks with City. City clearly wanted Maresca. They know him. He's been in the group. He was there when they won the treble. And clearly when he's left, they've said to him, go off and one day, son, you can return my prodigal. And that's exactly what's happened. So it's about as straightforward a transition as you can have. However, it's still a massive transition. It's still a guy who's coming in to fill the chair of a legend. And I just don't think it's possible. I think Maresca can be successful at Man City. I don't think anyone can be as successful at Man City as Pep Guardiola was, because Pep Guardiola is one of the greatest managers who ever lived. And I think you can get very, very good managers, and they will win things. But that relentless winning when he was at his peak, and goodness, even this season, picking up the 2 cups as well. He has been a serial collector of trophies. And I don't believe that there are many. I don't think there's anybody out there who can replicate this. But it is going to be strange next year, Martin, when we watch Man City and he's not there on the touchline with an enormous cardigan on.
Yeah, still a bald lad though, Jack, keeping up the tradition in Enzo Maresca. I mean, a technically very fine manager. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But you're losing aura, right? You're losing the absolute king of that place, and David's right to still take away 2 cups from a disappointing season. Is probably underlines it all. I still maintain 2 summers ago when he was being interviewed at the end of their final title win, he just looked exhausted for understandable reasons. And when a hungry maniac, an intense manager, just loses a bit of that, I just don't think players dig as deep as they used to. What do you think?
Yeah, so Davey mentioned it there, like it's still a successful season. I've seen the winning the 2 cups described on another podcast as the dickhead double. It's kind of unfair, but I kind of get where they're coming from. Pep has been. I'm a Pep fanboy. We spoke about it for years and years and years. I've never hidden that fact. His Barcelona team from way back, 13, 14 years ago, was my favourite footballing team to watch ever. So I've got soft.
Don't want to make you feel old, Jack, but the team that destroyed Man United that night was 15 years ago.
Was it 15? Was it that long ago?
15, well, yeah.
I thought it was about 12, 13. Right, okay. So there we are. And that's when I sort of I latched on to Pep, and I sort of didn't follow his career in Germany because I've never watched German football. But once he got to England, I thought, right, okay, we've got the guy here. And he is the guy that the 115 charges will get flung against him, but 2 things can be true at once. He can be a great football manager, and his football club, the way it was ran, could be dodgy, illegal, whatever you want to call it. So 2 things can be true at once. Yeah, they're going to miss him. I thought that the Maresca appointment, like Davey said there, was the most straightforward, simple appointment. And I think we all sort of agreed that when he took over Chelsea, that basket case club, he sort of handled that situation well between the madness above and the players and stuff like that. And it was kind of interesting that the players that came out in defence of him when Rosinha was there and left were the 2 best players, basically. They're 2 high-ranking players came out in defence of him, Fernandes and Cucurella. So maybe he's just got a different skill set, but he just deals with the high-level players much better than he deals with youngsters, people that don't want to listen, people that aren't as driven. So, yeah, I think it's the right choice, but of course, it's an absolute poison chalice. But you never know, he might go in there and slow it. We need to wait and see, but yeah,
I think he's got something about him.
He's got something about him, I think. Yes.
It's really difficult. Jack, is he the best manager in the history of the Premier League? Which has obviously been the default discussion.
The default question, the default discussion for a while.
Disappears.
Oh, it's just such a loaded question because, again, we've spoken about the academy system being it's been such an impact on modern players and the way they play and the way they've been mollycoddled, etc., etc. They're a different breed of player from the guys that Alex Ferguson was dealing with. If I was to be the richest club in the country all the time and I had the choice between Pep and Alex Ferguson, I would pick Pep. If I was a team with ambition to drag on and pull myself up and then become the best, I would pick Ferguson. So I'm kind of sitting on the fence there, mate, to be honest with you.
Yeah. It's been an interesting one. I mean, it's been everywhere, isn't it, really, that kind of assessment of his time. I do find it interesting. You know, we should be balanced and we should be able to find that nuance. Jack, you said, those 2 things can be true. You can be an absolute football visionary, learning from another football visionary. But you can have other questions about, the tools that you're able to work with and whatever else. And I think I've said it before on the show, what his reputation's like in 15 years, I'd be intrigued to find out, because if anything ever comes of the Manchester City thing, anything ever comes about how he is paid and from how many sources he is paid, for example, which runs at the heart of what he's what the allegations are, then I don't know if that starts to paint that picture. But he is just such a colourful, absorbing character, right? I mean, people wilt, I think, in his presence. He just gets such charisma. And again, people just forget very, very quickly at the end of his playing career, he was a drugs cheat twice and doesn't get talked about. And he took the same doctor from Brescia to Barcelona, where they had a very consistent run of no major injuries. So, as I said, yeah, give it 15 years and we'll see.
That's one thing you can never accuse Rangers of, is having a doctor who prevents injuries legally
exactly.
or by any other method, really.
The doctors who could arrange a few things back in the day, should the player ever be in urgent need of one. But yeah, not keeping them completely unscathed through the season. Coffee wasn't what it once was. David, before we leave City and Pep, etc., are there any other questions related to that before we move on?
Yes, we have a couple. I really like this one from Stephen Johnson. Bernardo or David Silva, lads? Pick one.
David.
Pick one for what?
You like Afu?
Bernardo. I'll go.
David. But I wouldn't
Both
kick
are lovely.
Bernardo.
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't kick Bernardo out of bed for eating biscuits.
I would love both of those players in my team. If I'm being honest.
I think Bernardo's got much more of a chance of going on to be I think he's got coaching and manager in him. I think he's got that.
Yeah.
That he's very short though. He's very short.
Yeah, but I don't think David Silva was a massive guy either. So
no, but he's not winning any management. I'm just saying, like Vincent Kompany, I think, who, let's face it, City have taken a punt, or not a punt on Maresca. They've obviously done other stuff, but they are in the back of their mind. They're going, if he screws this, then we can get rid of him and go and get Vinny. But Ian Hamilton, who has confessed already, as you'll have seen on the thread, to being a red, he says, Sir Alex's success started from 1978 to 2013. If Pep can get beyond that longevity, I'll put my hands up. But that stands Sir Alex ahead for me. I've said it before and I haven't been changed. The greatest manager of all time, in my opinion, is Sir Alex Ferguson, because of exactly what Ian said, that longevity, what he was doing. He was winning European trophies in 1983 and in 2008 and getting to finals in 2012. That is ludicrous. I don't think you'll ever see it again, but that's my personal opinion. And from our old friend Sir Duncan Ferguson, he says Maresca at Man City next season, seamless transition, potential disaster, or 12-month placeholder for the next super managerial appointment. It could be all three. That's the thing.
I think he'll be fine, and I think they will give him. This isn't Moyes, by the way, even though the job and the shadow and the task at hand seems similar. As you mentioned, I mean, Ferguson dragged a very broken and tired team. Basically bought Van Persie so he could leave with a title rather than the Aguero goal finishing him in 2012. It was a bad United team. And certainly Enzo Maresca is not getting that handed to him. And I think they will. I think they'll keep him. I think they'll kind of keep the pace with him. And also, he's not in a basket case club like Leicester and Chelsea were. And I think
he's got that
suited, and
club.
He's been
big club
he's been a
at
part
Chelsea,
of it.
which wasn't the case with. I think it's a good appointment, right? It's not an exciting. We were talking about this just in our wee group chat, lads, and we said that it's not exciting. I don't think that Enzo Maresca gets you going, I can't wait for it. But is it sensible? Will it do a job? Will it be a flaming disaster? The answer to that, I think, is no. I do not think this is not going to be a dumpster fire the way that Moyes' year was.
Yeah, no.
I think we can maybe rule out one of Dunk's things there is the super manager, because I don't watch a lot of European football, but I don't see there being a super manager out there at the moment, like some guy that is light years ahead of everybody else that you think, right, okay, Man City will get him next.
I keep hearing or reading and or hearing from pundits in England, you should go and get Luis Enrique from PSG. I think that might be quite hard. I think he's phenomenally well paid. I think he's got the best squad in Europe, and I'm not entirely sure that this idea that he's available. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's putting out the feelers, and within that world they know this. But he's
maybe the only one in the conversation. To be fair, right? Okay, I get that. That one guy, perhaps.
Him and Kompany, I think, are attractive right now. Out with that, the other attractive one has just gone to Chelsea. And bar that, you're right, Jack. I just don't see Unless you can go to the shelf and tempt a Klopp, or in a couple of years Guardiola back, I don't see who's out there.
Well, maybe his move from City, because it's not a retirement, obviously, although he could badly need a couple of years doing nothing. Maybe it just signals the end of that era of the super manager that I think we've maybe lived through over the last 10, 15 years. And the Premier League became the managers' league, with Pep and Klopp and Josie and Carlo Ancelotti, I think maybe at the one time, can't remember. Fabregas potentially, yep, he's doing some interesting things. But Italy isn't what it once was, is it? So
No.
who knows? I just think in terms of the absolute mega guys, I think we might be coming to the end of that, and it'll be back on who's got the best players.
Yeah,
thanks, which it always is. Really.
And can I just say, I feel your pain here to one of the comments in thread just before we move on. This came from Craig Mitchell, and he said, Jesus Christ, I'll need to qualify for the predictor next year. So I don't think he was impressed by his own performance in this year's predictor.
Yeah, the preliminary rounds start in July, folks. I will come back to Ian Hamilton's Manchester United one, because we'll reassess some of the other clubs in a minute. But let's get to the bins. Jack Shaw, your favourite place. At least we had something going all the way to the end, but there was little drama really. We needed Everton, who looked like they could not be fucked, going to Spurs and doing something, and they couldn't. West Ham upheld their part of the excitement bargain by doing the job against Leeds, but very much too little, too late. And to the disappointment of just about every football fan out of a certain section of North London, Spurs live to fight another day. They're consistent, 3 points better off than last season. There's a lot to be said for consistency in sport, Jack. What next for Spurs?
Well, they don't have Europe. I think De Zerbi's a good coach. Would it blow your mind if they finished 6th next season? No.
Yeah,
would it blow your mind if they still finish 14th? No. They don't know who they are as a club. They've been run horrifically poorly for many, many years. Same as West Ham, actually. Like, West Ham, that's 10 years they've been in the Premier League. This is a fucking disaster for West Ham going down. Like, it really is.
Yeah.
This is since about 2022, 2021, they've been run spectacularly poorly, and this is what happened. I don't think many people at the beginning of the season might have predicted them to go down because the team's coming up, but a lot of West Ham fans were worried because they're obviously they follow the team much closer than others. They were worried about what was going to happen with West Ham. It's a disaster for them. You look at Spurs, and I think De Zerbi came out and said there's like 11 players that he wants to keep. So again, are they going to look at this quick fix, boom, 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 go in, try to eradicate the team and bring other players in? Will that work? We don't know. They have had injuries. The Igor Tudor situation was a complete car crash. It was never going to work. So we need to look at that. And those people that made that decision, they're still in charge at Spurs. They're still the guys running the club. So do you put trust in them to make the right decisions going forward? I don't know, but it's a disaster for West Ham. They get 39 points, so it's been 15 years since somebody went down with that. So in a sense, they've been kind of unlucky, but they were just so inconsistent. And the teams that go down deserve to go down.
They do, Jack.
Same as the teams that win it.
But they look like they had the win behind them, David. They look like they were one of the ones, them and Forest and Leeds, obviously, that they were, I think I mentioned, looking up where Spurs were looking down, and that can be a huge psychological thing. And then they just stopped. I'm not entirely sure why. I thought the Newcastle game really was a must-win and something that should have been won. Newcastle were in a horrific vein of form, really. Just again, kind of floating about, not really sure what they were supposed to be doing at that point in the season. And they got fucking hammered. And, Nuno made the wrong choices and everything else. I think it's too easy to say that West Ham will be just bouncing back next season.
I don't think it's automatic at all. I thought that the thing that was mooted which was that they were going to get rid of Nuno and bring in Scott Parker, seemed eminently sensible, provided it was a 1-year deal for Scott Parker and he was going to be shown the door immediately upon not genuinely, the guy's I think he's got one. I think he's got one of the worst ever Premier League, points per game ratios, and it's like 88 games now. He's not good enough to manage in the Premier League. He is, however, fantastically good at managing in the Championship. So that made a lot of sense to me. I don't think there's a bounce back, Martin. I'm not entirely sure that you don't see a Leicester there at all. I mean, look, would it surprise me if West Ham came straight back up? Of course not. They'll start as favourites. But would it stun me if they were sitting about 17th at Christmas going, what the hell is happening? No, not at all. Their fans hate their owners with a passion. They hate their stadium. They were singing at the weekend, "You sold our soul for this shithole." These are big issues. These are not fixed by, winning games and whatnot. These are deeper lying fundamental issues, and I don't see how they're fixed really without the sale of the club, really. But no, there's absolutely no guarantee that they have financial issues now. Obviously, any team getting relegated does, but West Ham do. They owe an awful lot of money in outgoing transfer. I think it's like 100 million. Who can you sell from that side? Bowen, obviously. Fernandez, a lot of people seem to like, although I think 80 million. I think 80 million's a bit ambitious, but I think he'll go. Then starting to struggle a little bit. Somerville, could you get your money back on him? Somerville, what would they pay for him? 35? You'd get 35, maybe a wee bit more. But you're not getting 70 for him. And after that, I don't really see. I mean, the best player out with that's Disasi, and he's on loan, so he'll be heading back to Chelsea. They blew it because even Martin, they lost the last 3 games before Leeds. Even one win in that would have put them in pole position. They blew it. Nuno had an absolute fucking nightmare at Newcastle. Right. I mean, he picked the wrong team. He picked the wrong system. And by the time he changed it, they were 2-0 down and the game was gone. So Nuno's got to play. He, I think, has had a very damaging year to his managerial reputation because he has been a big part in West Ham going down. There's no doubt about that. He has made errors that have cost him. He's done good things as well, but I can see why he wants to stay and go a challenge because he ain't walking into a Premier League job. Ironically, the one job you would think he would go into is Nottingham Forest when inevitably they sack Pereira in October. But clearly that's a bridge that's been burned. But it is a disaster for them. From Tottenham's point of view, 2 years, 17th, it's not a blip.
No, and the biggest trap for them would be to consider that a blip because this is the issue. That tells you something. Leagues don't lie, certainly not 2 years in a row. So it is interesting. A fair point about semi-fair point I think about West Ham fans wanting Moyes out and what they're thinking now. Both can be true.
I just jump in for a wee second, Martin? Sorry, with keeping Nuno, I feel like that's a bad choice because the players that will leave are the players that have been playing. So he's now got to rely on the players that he didn't get on with, didn't trust, didn't want to play to then work for him in the Championship. I think it's a bad decision to keep him about. I think you need to change it and get something.
I think there needs to be fresh. There needs to be a fresh.
Say to like Max Kilman, right? You're my top boy now. You're my centre back. But
I'm not sure I'd want to go into a promotion campaign with Max Kilman.
But you're going to have to rely on him because nobody's going to buy him, so he's going to be part of your squad.
That's fair. Yeah. I like I say, they should bounce back up. They could very well. They will be the favourites too. All I'm saying is, if they did a Leicester, I'm not sure. I certainly wouldn't fall down shocked about it either.
No. The point I was going to make, it's one thing to be correct in saying that the end of the road had come for Moyes at West Ham. It went out in a nice way. They probably did need something different. It's that choice. And I get a bit frustrated with that football fans say, well, we sacked him and it's got worse. Well, yeah, that's because the second choice wasn't the good one. The first choice can still be correct. But anyway, just before we leave the bins, I mean, Burnley very predictably went down, guys. Leeds, huge amount of credit for recovering because they looked like they were going to be cut adrift as well. Huge turnaround. And Sunderland, the Black Cats in Europe, David. I mean, that is wild.
Fabulously, Milan failed to reach the Champions League. So they will be in the Europa League next season, as will Sunderland. And the Newcastle fans sing, "Have you ever seen a Mackem in Milan?" And the realisation that they're about to, I think, has hurt them a great deal. I think what Regis Labrie did is spectacular. I think it is absolutely unbelievable. And had Bournemouth made the Champions League, I would have had Areola as my manager of the year, but they didn't. So therefore, it's Regis Labrie, because that, nobody expected this. Nobody did. And sure, yeah, people will say, well, they spent a lot of money coming up. A lot of them do that. It's no guarantee. He fashioned an excellent side. He's qualified them for Europe. Now, of course, and I think he's bright enough to realise this, Martin, now he's got a real big challenge because expectations change. People see a trip, especially a trip to the Stadium of Light, is a big one, and you've got a shitload of more fixtures to cope with next season. So I think he might still see next season as consolidation.
I think we'd be happy if they're mid-table, because this could very easily be a very dangerous season. But that's for next season. They should be absolutely enjoying it. I'd still have Areola there. As I said before, it's not their fault they didn't get the Champions League. In sixth place is still better than 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th. And to lose the amount of players they lost in the summer, to lose their best player in the winter, and still not just ground things out and just dig away and just make your home ground an absolute noisy fortress and just get stuck in and hell mend anyone else. They played some clever and attractive stuff, and they fucking tore Manchester City apart on that night. That
and Arsenal
were given to and Arsenal at the Emirates. So yeah, it would still be that for me. But an incredible season, and again, always thinking close to home. That is the difference. An experienced quality player, just the one, can make to your entire team. Everyone feeds off that central pivot. Just before I get back to some of the predictor table, David and Jack, as we speak about Areola, who famously said, and by the way, that didn't hurt them, the way that we hear, lamed up managers and all that bullshit. He was ages ago when he said he was leaving. Maybe not the job opportunity he thought might be available. And David, it would appear today that he's said no to Milan in favour of Crystal Palace. I don't like that.
Leverkusen also very keen on him, apparently, but finding it very difficult to get the deal done, according to reports in Italy. These reports are coming from Italy. They're coming from primarily Gazzetta dello Sport, which is a legitimate and good source, to be honest. They're saying Milan couldn't get him because it looks as though he is going to go to Crystal Palace, which is interesting. Now, to people of my generation, anyone turning down Milan should have a big club at the back of that. It should be Real Madrid, Liverpool, Rangers. It should be that level of club. It shouldn't be for Crystal Palace, but it does appear that that's what he wants to do. I think when he took this decision and made it public, and you're right, Martin, the way that everyone at that club handled it, including him and the players, was spectacular. Players didn't look for an excuse to switch off. He clearly didn't divorce himself from his responsibilities. 18 game unbeaten run towards the end of the season. That's fucking phenomenal. And I think when he made the announcement, potentially the jobs that were available at this point were Manchester City, Manchester United, Chelsea, and possibly even Liverpool, right? These jobs were all very much, I think, in play. Newcastle, another one that, would be, I think, a step up. None of them are. Now, whether Liverpool becomes available, we don't know yet. Certainly, Xabi Alonso going to Chelsea would indicate that it isn't, because you have to think that Xabi Alonso's representatives went to Liverpool and said, we're about to sign with Chelsea. If you're going to make a move, you should do it now. So, yeah, Bilbao, I thought, but they went for Edin Terzic. Real Madrid were mooted, but they're going wonderfully for Jose. And what a fucking 4 months this is going to be, guys. I cannot wait for it. And none of the big English jobs have opened up. And now with that, there's not really anything I think is attractive. So, with no disrespect to Palace, who are coming off the best 2 seasons in Palace history, and a bigger achievement that I don't think gets enough love, which is no club has ever finished between 10th and 15th more than 5 seasons in a row, apart from Crystal Palace, who have done it for the 13th season, which...
It feels so banal, but it's absolutely not. It's a hard league.
Yeah, and they are always comfy.
Peddling. Yeah, they are.
Always comfy. But
and
I mean, look,
FA Cup
what can he do?
And European, that's what I mean.
Yeah, but what can he do there? At best, he can do what he did with Bournemouth. He can get them to kind of 6 at best, I think, with Crystal Palace. Unless there's going to be absolutely, he could win the Europa League.
I think that's the big thing. Like I've always thought that Areola had a laser-sighted focus on his career, his personal career. Said it when he went to Bournemouth. He knew what he wanted to do. He knew what he was doing before that. And I think it does seem dull and not even a sideways step, but almost slightly down. But he's managing Europe next year, right? Okay, so he knows that's coming. If he takes Crystal Palace to the Europa League and gets them 6th, 7th in the Premier League, the next jobs are Bayern, Madrid, Barca. They're always open up to him. I think he thinks if he took that step just now and it didn't quite work out, it might have a slight impact on his potential career graph.
Life's
but life's about timing, and his timing is shit, unfortunately.
But you've seen other guys who you thought their timing might have been good, like the timing was right for Thomas Frank to go to Spurs, Potter to go to Chelsea. The timing seemed right, and then it just spectacularly backfired.
Yeah,
and set them back 10 years in their career. I don't know.
I don't know if Palace, there might be money that we don't know about that's there to spend. I assume that Mateta's going to stay, for example, and some of the other guys are going to stay there. But I don't see what he can do additionally at Crystal Palace that is going to improve his reputation that he hasn't already done at Bournemouth. So from that point of view, Ian Hamilton here has messaged and said, if Newcastle had any brains, they'd get Areola, because how is past that madness if he ends up at Palace. Turning down Milan and Zlatan is mind-blowing to me. Milan are a fucking shambles, Ian, I've got to say, right? They finished about 80 points behind Inter, and they're going to next season. The squad is not great. They missed it on Champions League. But so I can understand them going, no, I don't want that. That's a bin fire. I don't want involved in that. But Newcastle to me looks very. I don't know. I think I might have waited if I was him, because I think Newcastle and Liverpool could open up quite sharpish next season.
Yeah, I'd have waited until the October international break next season, because. But anyway, he hasn't. Well, who knows? We don't know anything yet.
No, it's not official yet.
But yeah, I think you should be United, Manchester United. So let's talk about them. Then Ian had mentioned earlier that, it might be his red-tinted glasses, but right recruitment that they can challenge. They're not a million miles away. Well, they certainly weren't as far away as they felt last season. For me, they have been burned down this road before, where the popular ex-player comes in, does a very good job. They give him the reins permanently, then it all falls to bits. But I'm, as you've said, David, more impressed with what they did last summer. If they have another summer like this, and maybe another one, and then they look for that king. I mean, who? Again, thinking close to home, Manchester United need to be driven by someone who is larger than life. Michael Carrick, as much as I think he's a very good technical coach, isn't that. Does it happen on the pitch? I mean, Bruno Fernandes does about everything he can.
Yes.
It's probably a bit too much at this moment for one person. I just think United and other big clubs, maybe closer to our heart, need someone either on the pitch or in the dugout who is just bigger and absolutely represents the club. And I'm not sure they have that at the moment, but they're on the right track. So I'd expect probably more of the same. We'll see. Does he have to win something cup-wise? Maybe, just to keep that ticking over.
Wouldn't hurt.
No, it certainly wouldn't hurt. Liverpool, I presume then listen, we had to do a lot of that last season. I fucking told you to get rid of Salah. You wouldn't listen, blah, blah, blah. He's gone now. The guys who I brought in, they've been here. Ekitiki's actually been fine. Wirtz has actually kind of come onto a game a wee bit near the end. Don't you worry, we'll be back in it next season. If that's the case, David's going to have to happen quick.
Yes, it is. I just think the fans have turned on him, Martin.
Big time.
And I think that when that happens, I think you're kind of pissing in the wind a little bit. That's just my personal opinion, just something that we've all seen a lot over the years. And I think that I think you're just delaying the inevitable. But who knows? Because if he goes off like a train next year again, then that maybe falls away and people go, actually, I remember he is very good. We loved him a year ago. So maybe. I think it is maybe possible when a manager does at least have some credit in the bank that they can refer back to. But he will need to start well next season, which is a slightly odd position for a guy who has won a title. I
cannot get on the train that he's a fucking diddy.
No, I don't think he is. I just don't. I mentioned this on the Great Lost Show. The great American novel that we wrote that unfortunately didn't see the light. That my issue, or what I think is one of the issues, is style of plays get mentioned a lot, and he is trying to evolve them. We can see this. He's trying to evolve the style of play, and he's saying, you need to wait until it's working. What worries me is that what the style of play he envisages, which is a very possession-based style of play, is absolutely not what Liverpool support want. And therefore, it's kind of like, it reminds me a little bit of Russell Martin, not comparing them as managers. One is a very good manager and one is Russell Martin. I'm just saying that Martin would say to us, you need to bear with me because when we get this right, and we were all going, yeah, but we've seen the way your teams play when you get it right. We don't want our team to play like that. So you're being asked to hold on for a reward that you don't actually want. Would you enter a competition if the prize was a kick in the balls? No, you wouldn't want that. And that's what this feels like to me. And that's why I don't think it'll work long term. But I think it's not unreasonable to think, well, a pre-season and they might get an Isak firing. That's a handy thing to have in your side.
Yeah,
a couple of decent signings.
He's been
it hasn't worked. But I think they have a bigger problem with Wirtz, because Wirtz is somebody who decorates matches. He doesn't dominate them. And unless they can fit, Wirtz has not been bad for Liverpool, right? That's the thing. It would maybe be easier if he had, and you thought he's struggling for form and whatnot. My concern about Wirtz is he's doing what he does, but he embroiders games rather than dominates.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think there's a slight uptick at the end of the season, but there has to be more of that. But I think I would take your. I
just read a comment that popped up at the bottom there, guys. It said Liverpool have got good players, and it's the managers that's the issue. And I kind of agree with that. I think, see, when you look at the signings that they've made, you would look at most of them and say they've got nowhere near where they could get to, and I think that could be argued that's on the coach, that's the manager. To a certain
Why is it never the players?
No. Right, okay, right. That's
Why
what I'm
is it
saying.
never on Isak to come in?
Could be argued
because you can't sack. Because you can't sack the players, and because you paid 120 million for them, you've got to try to make it work. So you sack the manager because it's a lot cheaper. That's why I'm not saying.
I know the
I'm not saying you're wrong, but that's why.
Yeah. but it's.
I'm not saying that there's no
It's a
blame
cop-out.
there's no blame that
Pun.
lies at the door of Isak's been injured, and the signing of him when they could have signed Geehee instead seems like a mad decision at the top level of the club. I don't think Arne Slot will. You're getting to November, December, and I think they'll get to an international break and try and go out and get somebody else. Who that is, I don't know.
Yeah,
What,
the man.
what did we think about? What do we think about Salah's bomb before he left? Deciding to go out with as much damage as he could possibly inflict on Arne Slot, and he did so with his back to heavy metal football. This is what this club deserves, and he knew what he was doing.
His reputation in English football is he's one of the best players to play in English football, and I don't think that's going to be tarnished, because I think what's going to happen is it feels a bit sour now. It feels a bit like sleek it, but I think when Arne Slot gets sacked, everybody will go, Salah was right, and it'll just be all smoothed over.
Well,
the way
they like
he's went
Salah,
about
they
things.
don't particularly like. They like Salah, they don't particularly like.
That's it.
They love him.
At the moment.
They love him,
and understandably so.
I don't think that's going to change.
No, I don't either. Although I was right when I said they should have cut ties, because he's been shite, and he has been a counterproductive force this season.
Our own club doesn't listen to us, and if they had done, we would have been winning things, right? We can't expect English clubs to do it either, despite the fact
most
that
of the pity.
right.
Most of the pity.
More,
but again,
more fool them.
What it symbolises, the first ever Seagulls we ever did. The game that we had to discuss was Manchester City going to Anfield. I think Liverpool won, and Salah was incredible. And it just, my goodness, it feels a long time ago now. Some more predictor nonsense for you. We're at the top 40, so proper top of the pops. Without the paedophiles this time. Joint 38. Graham Quipp, Ian Ogilvie, and Scott Charles with 110. Jordan Boslem has 111. Graham Ross and Betty Fogg have 112. Gordon Allen 113. Noah Patterson, Mark McInnes, Andrew Meldrum with 114. Brian Johnson and Mr. David Edgar on 116. Joint 29th. Callum Cool, Tom McDavid 117.
That's a real one. That's a real prize.
Scott White and Dean Brooks have 119. Duncan Lyon has 121. And in joint 18th, Willie Gracie, Luke Randall, Neil Tango, Ian Prosser, and Craig Cassells with 122. Usually, ladies and gents, we take this time to look back at our predictions, but we forgot to do them, and I am making the executive decision, even though we'll look stupid, we're doing them on the first show before the season kicks off, and just getting it that way. Team of the season. Let's do it. Surely the goalkeeper is not in question, is it, David Raya?
No, not for me, David Raya.
And the two in front of him, I don't think.
Well, yeah, I presume then Saliba and Gabriel.
I'm actually taking three. Arsenal, I'll give you my back four. It's Timber, the two Arsenal centre backs, and Nico O'Reilly at left back for me.
That's what I have. Timber. It's not been a great season for right backs.
No.
He was great. He was certainly good at the start of the season.
When he wasn't injured, he was the best in that league. Yeah. So that's why
I don't deny it.
And I can't think of. I do like fullback, left fullback. I like Truffert at Bournemouth. Yeah. I think he's the next off the rank.
Calafiore was great for a while at left back at Arsenal as well. We could have. Yeah. There is an argument you could put that back four in.
Nico O'Reilly. Nico O'Reilly's been sensational.
I
just think O'Reilly's been sensational, and I hope that England play him. I know that it's traditional at tournaments. Actually, I hope they don't, because I'm Scottish, but you know what I mean. I know it's traditional to try and crowbar in a right-footed player there to.
I think he'll play
to do it for some reason, but he's got to play him.
Are we going with 4-3-3 or 4-4-2?
I'd gone for 3. Which is a complete.
As well, yeah.
I've gone for 4-3-3, which I accept as a complete abandoning of all of my deeply held principles. But to make up for it, I've got 4 of my men on this post.
Yeah, okay. I've gone for Rice, Bruno, and Morgan Rogers.
Yeah, it's not a bad
Yeah.
combo at all.
See the second midfielder beside Rice, I really was kind of struggling for that, to be perfectly honest with you. And it might seem a bit mad to pick a team that finished where were they? 16th. But I think Elliot Anderson has had a great season, because I was thinking
Yeah,
about Morgan Gibbs White through recency biased, because the other position I found difficult to pick was the left side, the left attacker, and I thought he could have been out of there, but maybe that's just the last 3 games that's skewed me towards maybe picking him. But that's mad that it's a team in 16th that you're picking one or maybe even 2 players out of.
Yeah, for me, I went Rice, Bernardo Silva, and Bruno.
Yeah, Silva. Yeah, like the game that they played against Arsenal, where he just absolutely, like, he single-handedly dominated that midfield, was absolutely phenomenal.
So Rice and Bruno are in, and it's between Silva, Rogers,
Anderson.
and Anderson.
I'm quite happy to concede to Bernardo Silva.
You can't. Yeah. I think that. Special shout out. One of the listeners has said Casemiro deserves a shout, and he does actually.
He does.
Fantastic season.
Big man.
Adam Morton. Sorry. Right.
Yeah, we could be.
But I feel like Adam Morton was really unlucky not to get in that England squad.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, you could have taken Adam Morton, who's a guy who can play forward passes to break through defence, or you could take a cheerleader.
Yeah.
And that's what they've done.
And yeah, if you're going to pick, I bet it's basically the job they do off the pitch, because none of them are playing really. The big man up front, I presume.
Yeah.
Second choice would be Thiago.
Thiago, yeah.
Would be.
Yeah, but you can't. He's normalised stupid numbers to the point now that if he's not hitting 106, that it's almost like you don't notice him. But he scores shitloads, and he was a real leader for City last year at key times. So,
and he changed the way he played. You seen him a lot deeper as well. That's always something that he's maybe learning in his game. But yeah, Thiago is second choice up there.
Semenyo, right hand side, surely.
100%.
And the left is interesting, Jack. I'd like to kind of shoehorn Krupi out there, and he can get as close to Haaland as he wants. I think he's been phenomenal, but I'm open to other ideas.
Jesus,
he's been brilliant.
Well, like I said, it's maybe recency bias, but the way that Forest over the last couple of weeks have kind of bunted him out there, and it's made them a much more functional team than maybe Morgan Gibbs White. But I can't really think of anybody else that's.
I'm going to pick, and this might surprise you a little bit, lads, because I did go Jeremy Doku to the end of the season. I thought
the end of the season, yeah.
I thought he got really good. If I was Crowbar and then Gibbs White, or possibly even Kiernan Dewsbury Hall, would be both deserve I think a bit of a pat on the back for some of their contributions. But I'm actually going to go for Ismail Assar of Crystal Palace, who had another quietly great season and culminating in a European trophy. I just think he's great. I'm surprised that people don't. Maybe it's because he's been around in English football for a while. I don't know. I also, the two guys that I'd like to, they just didn't quite do enough to get in. But Mbeumo and Cunha both had good seasons for Man United.
And then we're obviously forgetting the Scouser that's signing for Barca, Anthony Gordon.
Yeah, I'm not forgetting him.
David just
I'm just. I hated him when he played for Everton. Do you know what I mean? So I mean that says something. But I hate him. I hate his stupid hair. I just do. Sorry. And I'm sure he's a lovely guy, and he gives money to charity, and he's lovely. And I'm sure, and this is not a reflection on Anthony Gordon as a human being whatsoever. Actually, unfair. I take it back, because I rate Anthony Gordon. I hate Alejandro Garnacho.
Nah, he's a Roman.
I dislike Anthony Gordon. I hate Alejandro Garnacho. There you go.
Right, gents, are we ready? That the whole season has been building towards this
Why we're here.
Countdown is why we're here. In joint 16th, joint 5th, joint 14th place is what I'm talking about. Ian Stirling, George Higgins, former champion. Derek Eaglesham and Grant McLean with 123. Billy with 124 in 13th place on his own. Andrew Hind is on his own in 12th with 125. Joint 10th, Ronnie Patterson and William Hughes with 126. Scott Hamilton is 128 in 9th. Robin Balfour and Michael Elliott on joint 7th with 131. In joint 5th is Stuart Mitchell and me. That's probably the highest I've been for ever. And they don't get done out by a deflected West Ham or Aston Villa goal or something the last day of the season a few years ago. So we have 4 remaining, 2 points separating 4 places. In 4th on his own is Ross Edgar, cheats never win. And
he did once though, unfortunately.
Which leaves us with just 3. There's a tie for second place, and there is an outright winner. Colin Simpson and Richie Ballantyne of 135, which means Andrew Cunningham is this year's winner with 136 points.
1
It's
point.
Thrill to the end of the season. Richie hartsed it basically at the very end because he was pretty much leading for ages.
Oh, did somebody
What
come
happened
along
last week?
Did they steal 2 wins off him or something if they hearts them?
I think they just didn't turn up in away games in the run into the season, which are pretty important. I think that's maybe more the thing. But poor show for Richie.
That and the cheating, I think, probably. But
yeah. 5 points to 21 is probably a bigger deal. But it's
not selling that penalty was a big thing.
Andrew Cunningham. Well, indeed.
I didn't hear my name in the top 60. Fuck me.
No,
I won this some weeks, but Jesus Christ, man.
Do you want to know your?
No, 18 now.
Just bear with me, listener.
You can't find me.
He'll be there a while.
Oh no, there he is. Joint 70th, Jack, 85 points.
That's rubbish. Right, okay.
Right. No, next year's my year. I'm convinced of it.
Gentlemen.
Next year.
There's always next year. There's always next year for everybody. That's why August lulls you into this addiction every single year. When you know better, you know to go out and try golf or something else and break the spell that football has, but we know you can't, and therefore you'll be back next summer. Thank you very much, Jack Shaw, not just for tonight, but the entire season.
Yeah, and a massive shout out to the listeners that tune in every week and get their predictions in and engage with us and make this show sort of worthwhile making. That's what we do it for. You know, we enjoy it. It's dead easy just to chit chat after watching match of the day, but the engagement is top class. So cheers for listening, guys, and we'll speak to you next season.
Yeah, I would echo that. Thank you, David.
A pleasure as always, guys. And just a shout out to our winner. Can you email me, david@heartandhand.co.uk with your bank details, and I will transfer 150 of the King's pounds into your account. So congratulations on that one to you. And thank you, as Jack said, thank you to first of all, from my point of view, a big thank you to you two for always doing this, always being available for it. The thing, it's a much beloved show on Heart and Hand. It's got one of the biggest, in fact, it's got by far the biggest non-Rangers show listenership, but it's actually got one of the biggest on the network. And a large part of that, I think, is that it is just an extension of the three of us talking about this is what our group chat's like, guys. We've actually, believe it or not, we've got a separate one that we don't let any of the other Heart and Hand idiots into to talk about EPL because they'll sully it for us. But I think that comes across, and it's so much fun to do. And yeah, we'll be back next year, and we're really looking forward to it.
We are indeed 26, 27. Yeah, we're nearly getting up to 10 years. My goodness me. Right, thank you very much. Enjoy your summer, listeners, and we'll be back when it all kicks off again. Bye for now.